Honorable Teeluck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. After hearing my colleague, Honorable Ganga Prasad, it looked more of a new budget speech rather than a debate on a budget speech, with all the proposals. Moi, vous rassurer, Honorable Ganga Prasad, que l'honorable vice-premier ministre, Madame Lila Lévy-Doucon, connaît ses responsabilités. Je suis sûr qu'elle l'assumera pleinement with regards to the education center. And to jump back on one of the statements that you made about the butchered cow, please be informed that a suspect has already been arrested. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I now move to my speech. It is important that the budget speech of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development be brought within its perspective. Almost all countries around the world have been affected by COVID-19, with some 48 countries still in lockdown. No one in this House will challenge the magnitude of problems that this pandemic posed and is still posing. Most developed nations, like the USA and UK, are having very high death tolls. Despite their very advanced medical technology and state-of-the-art medical systems, they are struggling with managing the effects of this pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, this 10th of June 2020 could have had a different face. The fate of Mauritius could have been different today. Let's assume for a minute that no lockdown measures were taken. Let's assume for a minute that borders were not closed. Undoubtedly, as in the case of so many countries, we would have fallen flat to the predictions of the World Health Organization, or even worse, be at the mercy of the pandemic. Certainly, we would have seen an exponential blowout of the disease on our soil. Thousands would have been infected. The health services would have been submerged, with ICUs overwhelmed and health officers having to apply targeted treatment, just like in Italy, thus leaving many patients without treatment. There were 10 casualties, for which I'm very aggrieved. I would like to present my sincere condolences to their families, but if no measures were taken, the death toll would have been much higher. But we did not yield to the predictions of the WHO. No, Mr. Speaker, sir. We rose up to the challenge and we acted. And after several days of no active cases, we today only record 3 active imported cases. It shall forever be carved in stone, and generations to come will recall that this government stood firm to protect its people. Mr. Speaker, sir, it shall be carved in stone that it is this government who stood up to face the challenges in the best interests of the country. It is this Prime Minister and his team who, since day one of the lockdown and on a daily basis, every single day for long hours, be it on weekdays or weekends, taken bold decisions, implemented measures, and followed up on the progress of the disease to ensure that the country stays safe from the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is this Prime Minister and his team who acted promptly in difficult times and ensured that workers in our country do not lose their jobs, and introduced the wage assistance scheme when thousands and thousands of workers around the world are being laid off. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to data by weforum.org, around 30 million unemployment claims were registered in 6 weeks in the US. French automobile maker Renault announced at the end of May it would cut down 50,000 jobs worldwide. British Airways announced At the end of April, it will cut up to 12,000 jobs from its 42,000 strong workforce. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is this Prime Minister and his team who worked out the self-employed assistance scheme to provide financial support to the informal sector. There has never been so much communication on specific issue to the population. The population was kept informed in a spirit of transparency. But sadly, Mr. Speaker, sir, for members on the other side, nothing seemed right. I do understand that as a reasonable opposition, you have to oppose. And I do understand your passion to serve your mandates and show that you're working, or rather talking. But we have to be fair. Fair in our criticism, but also fair in recognizing what this government has done for its people during this unique period. I would like to ask them a question. Was it not right, or was it not in order when the government took immediate decisions because of the lockdown to go at every doorstep in this country to pay each beneficiary its pension when and at the time it was due and payable? Was it not right, or was it not in order when the government took immediate action in order not to delay the vaccination campaign for our elders to go again at every doorstep in this country to do the vaccine? Be grateful, because your mandates are thankful to this government for these measures. When you so easily, unfairly and baselessly criticizing this government, we, with the support of frontliners, were facing the challenges and working for the country, taking actions to curb and halt this deadly virus. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the fundamental lessons we have definitely learned from COVID-19 is solidarity. I heard a honorable member yesterday, on the other side, of course, commenting on New Zealand's coronavirus elimination strategy, which is one of the most commendable due to its leadership from the top. But what she failed to mention is that New Zealand's success so far in working towards eliminating COVID-19 isn't due just to leadership from the top. It has been a collective success involving unity across political divides. I quote the opposition leader Simon Bridges' speech to Parliament on the declaration of the national state of emergency on March 25th, 2020. On the big questions, there is no national or Labour or Green or ACT or New Zealand First, just New Zealanders. This is what I call solidarity. And in time of crisis, solidarity of citizens at all levels is of paramount importance. The time has come to collectively build a new normal based on social justice, solidarity, and equality. Petty politicking should be avoided. Malheureusement, de par les commentaires qu'on a eus jusqu'ici, par exemple, sur la contribution sociale généralisée, on voit déjà le niveau du sens de patriotisme qui anime les membres de l'autre côté de la Chambre, allant même jusqu'à inviter les Mauriciens à descendre dans les rues. Les explications sont pourtant claires, Monsieur le Président. À travers ce nouveau système, les employés qui touchent jusqu'à 50 000 roupies par mois contribueront 1,5% de leur salaire et leurs employeurs contribueront 3%. Pour les salaires de plus de 50 000 roupies par mois, la contribution sera de 3% pour l'employé et de 6% pour l'employeur. Actuellement, dans le cadre du NPF, le taux de contribution est appliqué indépendamment du base de salaire, sur le plafond de 18 740 roupies, soit 3% par l'employé et 6% par l'employeur. Ainsi, il faut savoir qu'une personne percevant le salaire minimum cotise actuellement 306 roupies contre 562 roupies pour quelqu'un qui touche jusqu'à 1 million par mois. Cela ne vous interpelle pas déjà? Est-ce que vous trouvez cela juste qu'une personne percevant un salaire d'1 million de roupies contribue le même montant que celui qu'une personne qui touche un salaire minimum? Alors qu'avec la contribution sociale généralisée, un employé sur la base du salaire minimum ne contribuera que 153 roupies au lieu de 306 roupies actuellement. Tout changement, Monsieur le Président, a certes son lot de contestations, mais au final, c'est le bien-être de la population qui doit primer. The Secretary General of the United Nations said it clear. This is, above all, a human crisis that calls for solidarity. The liquidity of the financial system must be guaranteed, and banks must use their resilience to support their customers. Most fundamentally, we need to focus on people, the most vulnerable, low-wage workers, small and medium enterprises. That means wage support, insurance, social protection. That also means designing fiscal and monetary responses to ensure that the burden does not fall on those who can least afford it. And this is exactly what this government has proposed in its budget speech. Mr. Speaker, sir, let's face the music. We cannot criticize everything. We have to admit that this government has a vision. And the Minister of Finance has presented a budget which will give a boost to the economy whilst maintaining a social aspect to it. Mr. Speaker, sir, now coming to my ministry. One of our primary objectives remains, Mr. Speaker, sir, the welfare of our artists and spurring their creativity. Let's not forget that the creative sector is a contributor to the economy. It's a direct creator of employment, and its multiplier effect cannot be underestimated. As a proactive government, immediate measures were taken. May I remind the House that during the lockdown, we collaborated with various artists who were called to perform from their home and same broadcasted on TV. During that same period, the Mauritius Film Development Corporation had also been very active. It played a vital role in informing the public on various sanitary measures and relaying other related information to the public. The MFDC has worked very closely with the Ministry of Health, among other ministries and departments, and mounted several clips for broadcast both on the local media and social platform. Mr. Speaker, sir, we all agree that the post-COVID cultural landscape will no longer be the same. At some point in time, we will be back to normal. Normal business, not the past normal, but a new one. During the lockdown, while various sectors were on the lockdown state, artists around the world, including Mauritius, have reinvented artistic interaction. They produced and displayed their performances on social media platforms, receiving thousands of views in just a couple of days. Therefore, there is a need to readapt. We have to take measures to address the immediate consequences of COVID whilst reinventing the cultural sector in the longer run. Mr. Speaker, sir, while it is not the most appropriate condition to present a budget, il fallait prendre le taureau par les cornes. Et là, je voudrais féliciter le ministre des Finances pour ces mesures qui visent non seulement à relancer l'économie, mais aussi à s'assurer que nos compatriotes se trouvant dans des difficultés économiques suite aux effets de cette pandémie ne subissent pas le plein effet de cette crise. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, sir, to elaborate on certain specific measures being taken to address the effects of the pandemic on the artistic community. This government pays special attention to the creative and cultural sector and is providing 19 million to finance the post-COVID-19 Action Plan 2020. This action plan, designed by the ministry, contains 13 measures to give support to our artists and to revamp the creative and cultural sector. This immediate term action plan will enable us to address various issues at the same time. First, it will provide a financial support to artists and enable them to carry out with their performances. It will enable artists to continue producing artistic work. It will provide different platforms for display of works of arts and creative pieces. The population will continue to benefit from artistic creations. New platforms and a rethinking of reaching the public will emerge. And finally, it will redefine and re-engineer the local artistic and cultural scene. This action plan is for an initial duration of 6 months. We will thereafter assess the feasibility of changing our outlook to art. The National Arts Fund has been instrumental in giving support to artists and enhancing the level of artistic productions. The National Arts Fund is creating as well a special grant to take on board the innovative projects that may be of a digital nature to enable artists not only to adapt to the new environment, but to take advantage of new technologies to make their work more accessible. Mr. Speaker, sir, it was high time to have a calendrier culturel, as announced in the budget speech. This calendrier will allow the ministry to work on various projects and launch initiatives in view to boost the artistic sector. In the context of the National Day Celebration 2020, the ministry initiated a pilot project called Art in the City. Through this art program, we aimed at promoting artistic development and transforming the busy city environment into a bustling visual and performing arts city and giving access to high-quality artistic and cultural experiences. The event was held over 4 days around Port Louis. Live paintings were created by 50 fine art artists and students of the MGI and the University of Mauritius, as well as renowned local artists, coupled with live instrumental performances at 12 locations in Port Louis. The 15 million being provided under the calendrier cultural item will now allow us to fully develop this project on a larger scale, thus, by extension, giving additional platforms to artists and at the same time enhancing the experience of livelier public areas. Other projects will certainly now shape to reality under the portfolio of Calendrier Culturel, for instance, Art Café project and the Arts Regional Workshops. The Art Café will be a quarterly informal coffee meeting or networking get-together with artists where dynamics of the sector can be discussed with policymakers. The stakeholders will include policymakers, artists, National Arts Fund, and sponsors of the private sector. On the other hand, the Arts Regional Workshop will take the form of regional workshops with the participation of young and budding artists for coaching and guidance by established artists. This will help promote art and various art forms and in every nook and corner of the island. Another very important limb of the artistic sector, something which has been long awaited by artists, the status of the artists. Artists, in view of their atypical working conditions, fall in the informal sector, and as at date, there is no official register for professionals in the arts. Artists do not enjoy the right to which other workers are entitled, for instance, contributory pension schemes, paid holidays or other leaves, or even end-of-year bonus. And this prevents them from professionalizing their work in order to optimize the potential of the creative sector for economic growth, job creation, and social inclusion. I am today pleased to announce that my ministry has obtained the government's approval to convey drafting instructions to the Attorney General's office for the drafting of the status of the artist's bill. A public consultation will be held alongside to enable stakeholders to provide their views and proposals on the proposed bill. The status of the artist's bill will also make provisions for the creation of a register for the professionalization of the arts and the issue of a professional card. This is to be implemented by a new institution, the National Body for Professionals in the Arts. Mr. Speaker, sir, now coming to the cultural heritage sector. This government demonstrates its commitment to the preservation of historical and artistic heritage through activities designed to keep alive our heritage. The safeguarding of our national heritage for posterity is one of our major concerns, and we are taking initiatives to ensure preservation of our heritage. Firstly, revamping of the National Heritage Fund Act 2003. We have to keep the act governing heritage in Mauritius up to date so that it meets the need of the present. It will also domesticate various international conventions on heritage that Mauritius has signed. Moreover, this will provide added protection to our national heritage of Mauritius by stiffening the penalty for acts of vandalism perpetrated against our country's national heritage sites. There will also be extension of legal protection to sites of historical and heritage value which have not been designated as national heritage. Secondly, conservation and preservation of heritage sites. Government is very much engaged in the preservation of our heritage sites and historical sites. Over the full budget, much consideration has been given to the protection of our national heritage buildings and sites. Around 400 million had been made available over the last 4 years for rehabilitation and restoration of heritage sites. Tenders have already been launched for the rehabilitation and restoration of Plaza Theatre in January 2020, and the cost estimated of the project is approximately 300 million. The deadline for the submission of the bid has been extended to 7th of July 2020. In this budget, government has allocated 35 million rupees under the Lotto Fund for the rehabilitation and restoration of heritage sites, and the following projects on the way. Number 1, La Tour Koenig Pointe-Sable. Number 2, Old French Battery and Ruins of World War II, Pointe du Diable. And number 3, La Voir and Aubrevoir Maillebourg. The other projects that are in the pipeline are also La Tour Hollandais Vieux Grand Port, La Tour Koenig Pointe-Sable Phase 2, restoration and uplifting of national monuments in Jardin Compagnie and Place d'Armes, Beaujard Government School, and Grand River Northwest Hospital, ex-Bostal. The fund will also be used for regular cleaning and maintenance of the heritage sites. Moreover, with the Victoria Bus Terminal project and Urban Terminal project, the Victoria Station, Artillery Square, and the Trou-Fanfaron Station will be rehabilitated and restored for reuse. Regarding intangible cultural heritage, it is important to note that over the 5 years, the Republic of Mauritius succeeded in inscribing 3 elements inscribed on the UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, namely the Sega typique, the Pochpuri Guide Gawai, and the Sega Tambour of Rodrigue, which were inscribed in 2014, 2016, and 2017, respectively. In December 2019, le Sega Tambour Chagos has been inscribed on the UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. My ministry, through the National Heritage Fund, is working on a list of other potential elements of our intangible cultural heritage that would be submitted to UNESCO for inscription on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity and list of intangible cultural heritage in need for urgent safeguarding. Mr. Speaker, sir, preserving cultural heritage and opening it up to all parts of the society is vital. if we are to create a common sense of belonging. Innovative technologies, such as virtual or augmented reality, can enhance how people experience cultural heritage. We know well that new technologies can offer a unique, creative, and interactive experience and attract a wider audience. We also want to marshal digital technologies to respond to threats to cultural heritage, such as national disasters, climate change, terrorism, or vandalism. For instance, our documentary heritage. In addition to the first phase of the virtual visit platforms being developed by Apravasi Ghat World Heritage Site, Le Monde World Heritage Site, and Troucheny Open Air Museum, we will develop a mobile application for the discovery and virtual experience of our rich heritage. These free interactive maps will put cultural heritage at users' fingertips, providing them with easy accessible information. It will enable residents and tourists to share and discover our cultural treasures of Mauritius. While the open-air museum at Le Monde, depicting life at Troucheny, was inaugurated in February this year, we are proceeding with phase 1 of the Intercontinental Slavery Museum at Port Louis. And given that Honorable Armance, who was not present yesterday and not present as well today, is sick. So his PQ table yesterday was left unanswered. But I will be happy to update him on the status of the Intercontinental Slavery Museum. This government is highly committed to the early setting up of the Intercontinental Slavery Museum, whose objective is to give more visibility to slavery and slave trade in the Indian Ocean, promote the history of slavery, and give due consideration and recognition to the contribution of enslaved people to the development of Mauritius and the world. I am informed that in line with this commitment, the following actions have already been taken. The site of the ex-military hospital, the oldest building constructed in the Republic of Mauritius and situated in the strategic region of Port Louis near the Apravasi Ghat, will house the Intercontinental Slavery Museum. A special purpose vehicle has been set up to act as the implementing agency for the project. As such, a state-owned company known as ISM Mauritius Co. Limited has been incorporated on 22nd January 2020 to act as the SPV. A temporary exhibition has been mounted in the context of the public consultation exercise to showcase and display the concept and the themes of the museum as approved by the government. The objective of the exhibition was to ensure, through the public consultation exercise, that all views and suggestions of stakeholders and the public in general are taken on board whenever possible, and to finalize and develop the themes of the museum. The temporary exhibition was scheduled for launching in mid-March, but could not be held in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is now proposed that the launching be held as soon as restrictions on mass public gathering are removed. Moreover, a tender exercise for the uplifting of part of the old building under phase 1 of the project was launched in January 2020, and its evaluation was completed in March 2020. The recommendation of the evaluation committee have been considered by a technical committee on 18th of March 2020, but could not be considered by the ISM board in view of the lockdown. I am informed that the board will consider the matter at its first post-COVID-19 meeting scheduled on 10 June 2020. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, again, in reply to a PQ put to me yesterday by Honorable Armance regarding copyright fees, I'm informed by the MAZA that an amount of around 33.4 million rupees has been collected for the year 2019 from music users, which is scheduled to be distributed in December 2020. I'm also informed that for the period of January to April 2020, an amount of 2.7 million has been collected, which is scheduled to be distributed next year. Furthermore, an amount of around 2.7 million has been distributed to local owners of copyright in April 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that in view of the difficulties faced by its members during the lockdown period and in a spirit of solidarity, the Board of MAZA has approved a financial support of 5,000 rupees to its full-fledged members in early May 2020 through the Provident and Social Welfare Fund of MAZA. The distribution is currently ongoing, and a second disbursement of 5,000 rupees has also been approved by the Board of MAZA on 3rd June 2020, and distribution is expected to start this week. Mr. Speaker, sir, this amount, of course, is over and above the financial assistance provided to artists through the COVID-19 wage assistance and self-employed assistance scheme put in place by the government during the lockdown. Mr. Speaker, sir, the rate for collection of copyright fees vary depending on category of music. Such rates date back to 2008. And the specific reason why I chose to answer this unanswered PQ is because I'm pleased to announce to the House that a new structure of copyright fees, as proposed by the Board of MAZA, has been approved by the government on 15th of May 2020. I will shortly introduce a new regulation on the structure of fees collection. This new structure of fees will be applicable as from 1st of July 2021 in view of the prevailing economic conditions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. With these words, I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and heartily congratulate the Minister of Finance for the presentation of this budget. Thank you.